fellow Ninja Fit instructors, leadership students, possibly instructors from other organizations. This video I'd like to take a couple minutes and focus on how to teach focusing the mind during sparring. Now it should be pretty obvious to most of us that, anytime you've got an active live opponent across from you, or multiple opponents especially, you've got to be engaged. Your brain has to be active and firing on all cylinders, and you've got to be aware of everything that's going on around you. Sometimes it may be as simple in class as we're sparring and there's other people around us sparring too, so I'm making sure that while I'm watching my partner and maybe I'm kicking or punching toward them, they're backing up or moving around at angles or something, that I'm not going to make them fall into another pair of students that are sparring. That may be a simple explanation of it, or testing. There's people gathered around, maybe students sitting around on the floor around the edges and all that, and I don't want my partner falling on top of somebody else, so I'm going to be cognizant, mentally aware of all my surroundings while that's going on. I'm going to make sure I'm not going to get them 2 feet away from a kid that's sitting on the ground watching, it's going, ah, and then all of a sudden I throw a side kick right in their belly and make them fly over the top of that kid's head. That's not my goal, right? I want to be mentally aware of everything that's going on around me. Yes, of my opponent, but also what other my surroundings are. So I want to kind of take a couple minutes and chat about that. So in addition to knowing what all my other surroundings are, what my opponent's doing is really important. Whether they're creating an opening or leaving an opening for me. Now that might be that they're baiting me like we bait fish when we're fishing and all that stuff. They may kind of lift that elbow up a little bit higher just to tease me and leave that as a challenge. I bet you can't get me here, but I'm going to be aware of it. I'm going to be thinking about that on that level. I'm going to see that as an opening. I'm going to see then if their other hand's back here, well then this whole body right here is an opening. If their hands are down, this whole thing up here becomes an opening. I'm going to see that. That's a target I can attack. So I'm going to go after that, right? Or I'm going to plan on what I can do to get that point or get that target. It doesn't do me any good, and we all see this with beginning sparrers all the time. If you're a regular martial arts instructor, hopefully by the time you get to intermediate ranks and definitely advanced ranks, you're helping your students understand it's just a waste of time and energy if they keep going after a closed target. So somebody's got their hands here, whatever, yes, their head is available, but their body's their hands are really closed and tight, and so you're not going to get a body shot on them. Beginner sparrers don't get that. They just start kicking to the arm, kicking to the hand. They don't really understand there's a target that's available that I need to go for. And that's what is my goal as an instructor, to help them see and point out to them and help them learn how to get it. Okay, so maybe every time we're in a sparring stance and I throw a back leg kick, that back leg's so slow and they see it coming, by the time I get my foot around to their body, they know I'm going for the body, so they just keep doing this. They keep closing up their body or whatever so that I can't get that point. Well, then I gotta reach to a different level in my mindset and go, okay, well maybe I'll throw one kick here and then I'll throw the second kick up here where they're not blocking, where they're not guarding, or I'll fake here and then throw a kick up here. It becomes like a game of chess. Honestly, it's not just one move at a time I'm thinking about. It's, okay, maybe there's more moves that I can throw. How can I set this up? This is my end goal, to get them in their head, but maybe I've got to throw a couple of things that are distractions in other areas first to get them, oh my goodness, and boom, I got you, tag, you're it, kind of thing. So that's where I'm looking at, and that's where I'm trying to get my students to understand as we're teaching them to focus their mind in sparring. The other part of that is, it becomes, again, intermediate and advanced students should be understanding these concepts. It also becomes a waste of time and energy to start trying to reach out or block every single thing that comes at you. At some point you got to understand, if I'm just out of range for them to hit me, if I scooch back just a little bit, they didn't hit my belly, I don't have to block that. I don't have to worry about getting my hands there too. I just need to worry about learning my distance well enough to know, okay, I'm just outside, or here we are, we're sparring, I'm just outside of that kick. I know how long his legs are. I know how his slides work and all that when he's doing slides or anything. I know how far he can go. He can't reach me from there. So I'm not even going to worry about it. I might just go whoop, a little bit back, but this is less energy wasted than or whatever I'm trying to do. So avoidance can be a lot easier sometimes than blocking. It can be a lot more energy conservation for your students. So I try to get them to learn that too, learn their distances really well and understand that much about their opponent. Okay, so we're inside their leg reach. They're not the most flexible opponent, so I don't really have to worry about them kicking me when we're in really tight, but I do have to worry about their hands. They punch a lot, and I know my partner here goes a lot for the head shots. So my hands are coming up here. I'm more concerned about head shots than I am about body shots. I know how to toughen up my stomach and to take a body shot if I need to or something, but then what do I do to get them away from me once they're in there? So it's a thinking match. It really is. Whether you're on the defensive or on the offensive, you got to keep your brain engaged the entire time. So how do you relay that message then if you're going to use this as a mat chat focused in your mind when you're sparring? You talk about that during the sparring lesson, yes, blah, 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 but then after the sparring lesson's done, you try to sit them down and have a mat chat with them and say, okay, so how can this lesson relate to our real life, to outside of here? Well, to me, it's really, anytime we do stuff with sparring, it easily correlates with self-defense out in the real world, right? If I got an opponent coming at me and all they've got is hands and feet, okay, I'm aware of that, and I start going through the checklist in my mind. What are the targets that he looks like he's gonna come at me with? Elbows, knees, fists, feet, what? And I'm aware of all the things that he could possibly do with that. He starts pulling out a knife, that changes the game. I go through a whole nother checklist in my head. Pulls out a gun, whole nother checklist in my head. I'm freaking out a little bit, but that changes the game so much more than just hands and feet. Just one attacker versus 2 or 3 people around me. I've got different things I need to be paying attention to. So in self-defense, it makes a lot of sense to me, how you got to be aware and mentally focused on that situation. But take it outside of that into classroom things. In junior high and high school, a lot of kids do debate, in school, and it just kind of, it's pokes in my head as an automatic thing I see. In debate, you're preparing a series of arguments like lawyers do, right, when they're getting ready to go to court. Here's what I think my opponent might come up with, and this is how they might argue against it. So if this is the angle they come from, how can I rebut that? How can I cut that off and prove that wrong or something like that? So you've got to think in advance before you go into any debate or before a lawyer goes into court. They've got to prepare in advance for all the possible things that their opposition might do. So they got to be able to see those openings, just like what we're doing with sparring. I don't just want to go for the easy thing here, hit their hand. That doesn't do me any good. I got to be able to visualize the openings that person might leave me, and I've got to know how to attack that, how to gain something from that, right? So that's, I don't know, that's maybe not the easiest way to word it, but that's one thing that kind of pops in my head. In business, for adults, a lot of people talk about, you want to get a promotion, well then you need to create an opportunity for yourself. You need to make sure you're the right person when that job comes available. You got to be able to take action and be aggressive when that opening comes. So you got to be ready to apply for it when it comes. If you're going to be setting yourself up for it, like we do when we're sparring, we try to think 2, 3, 4 moves in advance. This is my end goal. I want to get them here in the head, but I'm going to throw some things around here. I'm going to set it up for myself. That way they're already down here, or they're ready and open for me when I want to get to the headshot. Same thing, when you know that you want to move to that next level, you want to move up to that management position or whatever it is, to that boss's position, but you right now might not have the resume that shows you're the best candidate for that job. Well then, right now while you're preparing, you think about the things you can do. Did you get all the education you needed as far as schooling or training, certifications, anything like that? Start finding all that kind of stuff up that sets you up to make you look appealing and look like one of the best candidates when that opening comes up. Then be ready to capitalize on it when that thing comes. Don't dilly-dally around, don't think twice about it, whatever. If that opening comes up, you put that application in quick. You take advantage of that. That boss gives you a chance to prove yourself or something. You've been asking for more and more responsibility. That boss puts more on your plate. Don't let them down. Be ready to go after it. Go after it and be aggressive with it, right? Capitalize when you have those openings. So that's what it means to me if I'm looking at teaching a lesson about focusing your mind when you're sparring, when you've got an active opponent. Those are the kinds of things I'm looking at. So maybe it clicks with you and you can use some of this material. Maybe it helps you find, maybe you want to still find a different way to approach that with your kids' classes, because younger kids than junior high may not understand the debate and the life lessons, the adult life lessons. So you got to find a way to kind of make that appeal to them in their daily lives. But find a lesson that you can use, and a way you can help relay that and relate that to their daily lives. So that's focusing your mind while sparring.